They say when the dead whisper, it's not always to haunt you. Sometimes it's to warn you. But what happens when you ignore those whispers? Tonight, on Midnight Mysteries, we descend into the secrets buried beneath a dying town. Don't look away. Don't trust what you see. This is the house that hears you. The first time Claire heard the voice, it wasn't a whisper. It was laughter. Dry, raspy, like lungs full of dust. She was 6 years old, sitting alone in the overgrown backyard of her grandmother's house, the sun melting into the horizon. The voice came from behind the wooden fence, the one with missing slats and nails like rusted teeth. You dropped your doll, it said. But Claire hadn't. The doll lay still on her lap, its cracked porcelain face tilted upward, empty eyes catching the last light of day. She stood, heart thudding, and stared at the gap in the fence. No one was there, just dark trees, and the distant sound of wind chimes. Except they didn't own wind chimes. The house was old even back then. The kind of house that moaned when it settled and exhaled cold drafts from its walls. Her grandmother, who everyone in town called Miss Isabel, never acknowledged the strange noises, or the cold spots, or the way the mirrors always seemed just a little too foggy to reflect things correctly. When Claire asked about the voice behind the fence, her grandmother only said, "There are things you don't answer, child. Things that want you to listen, don't." That was the last time Claire brought it up, until she returned to that house 19 years later, after Miss Isabel died. She was the only heir. No cousins, no siblings. Her parents had vanished in a storm when she was 12, the boat they'd taken out never returning. Claire barely remembered them, just that they hated the old house, never visited, never let her stay more than a few days at a time. But now it was hers, the house, the land, and all the whispers it had held in its cracked foundation for decades. She arrived at dusk. It always seemed to be dusk in that part of Hollow's End. The sun never fully shone, and even the birds seemed to mute themselves around the old place. The house looked the same, maybe worse. Shingles like dead scales, windows smeared with age, and the air smelled faintly of ash and earth. Yet as she stepped inside, a warmth hit her, like something had been waiting, watching. The air shifted. She heard the door close behind her, and she swore. Something giggled upstairs. She froze, listened. Silence. Only the ticking of the old grandfather clock in the hallway. Claire spent her first night in the room she used to sleep in as a child. The wallpaper had peeled back to reveal strange markings underneath, etched in the wood like someone had used a nail or a knife. Symbols she didn't recognize, circles, lines, an eye. That night, she dreamt of the fence, and someone standing just behind it. Not a child, not an adult either, something in between. It kept whispering over and over, "I remember your name." She woke in the dark, heart racing, breath catching in her throat. Something was in the room with her. Not a shape, not a shadow, just a presence. It pushed against her thoughts. Not physical, but real. She reached for her phone. 3:33 a.m. Of course. In the morning, the house felt colder. She tried turning on the heat, but it sputtered and died. She opened the basement door, half expecting rats or mold. But the air that rolled up was warm. Not just warm, humid, like breath. She didn't go down. Later that day, she found the journal, Miss Isabel's, tucked behind the loose board in the attic. The handwriting started neat, but gradually decayed into frantic loops and jagged lines. The house listens now. It doesn't sleep anymore. The fence is thinning. It knows her name again. Claire nearly dropped it. There were dozens of entries, all scattered, mentions of voices, of doors closing on their own, of something that had come back through. The entries stopped a year before Miss Isabel died. The last page simply read, "You can't close a door once it's opened from the other side." That night, Claire heard the laughter again, from behind the fence. Except the fence wasn't behind the house anymore. Not exactly. It was inside the house. A space that should have been a hallway now stretched long and narrow, flanked with wooden slats and nails. And at the end, a gap. She walked toward it, her breath shallow. The floorboards didn't creak. They hummed. From the gap, she heard her voice, childlike, mimicking, "You dropped your doll." Claire ran. The hallway snapped back to normal as she turned the corner, but her childhood doll now sat on the kitchen table, head turned, eyes fixed on her. She hadn't brought it. She hadn't touched it in years, and its mouth was slightly open. Join us next time, if you dare, for part 2 of The House That Hears You. Don't forget to subscribe to Midnight Mysteries